This is the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for June 5th, 2023. Tonight's sponsor is Derek's Repair Shop, LLC. For mechanical or detailing on your vehicle, call Derek at 319-215-8167 to make an appointment. Derek has been a friend of the Steve Brown Arts Center from early days. On today's podcast, we talked to Maurice Walsh about the railroad depot in Independence and much of his life service he has done. We talk about winners and losers as usual. We do the fifth segment of Mandino's book on how to be successful. I will be master of my emotion. We will look at the events inside of the Steve Brown Arts Center, including the first Art in the Park program today. We give you the top stories in Jesup. We discuss service and art, and we talk about the Green Mountain train wreck. Dale talks a little bit more about Mr. Jesup, our founder, and we banter back and forth a little bit.
I also have some on the flag. I need some for June, so if you have time, I'll talk about the American flag, too.
We do,
so,
we do. I left that out. Forgive me.
That's all right. I try to keep those things from you, so you know.
A little bit. Somebody asked, how do I know when someone is a bohemian? So there is...
And we all want to know that for sure, to make sure we're not one. So, okay.
A short... this is the first thing you look for, and in the coming weeks I'll try to give you other clues. But a bohemian will always have a hat that goes with the vehicle in which they are traveling.
Okay.
Ivy caps and driver caps are popular with jalopies, roadsters, and bicycles. A classic fedora or a stingy brim fedora with a pointier vehicle. The babushka, a favorite of the gypsy bohemian, may be worn by all sexes and is favored for cross-country trips and caravans. Fairy types go for flower garlands, but twigs and pussy willows may also find themselves entwined in hair along with other evidence that they've been communing with nature.
Okay.
You never know when a bohemian will show up in a turban. If you're looking for bohemians, look for the hats.
Was it 2 larks and a hen, 4 something and a wren have all made their nests in my beard? That sounded like what that was. So. I was down to Mr. Polk's. He was here last week,
yeah.
And I stopped at his store yesterday and looked around, and he's got several hats that I think would look well on you, and they're only like $4 or $6.
Oh.
They were brand new, and they're the felt. They're not cowboy hats, but not fedoras either. But they're, and I think I've seen you wear a hat like that before.
I have
it has
a
a brim
fedora.
clear around.
Yep.
But you should stop and look. They looked really nice, and the price. I bought a few fishing lures for my grandson, and I bought a cap for myself. And
Cool.
But he's got lots of stuff in there, and so. Blake. I forgot to tell you on the podcast when you go online. We spelled his name wrong. He told me that. So I said, well, I'm sure Blake can change that.
Yeah.
So, but see, Blake's got his earplugs in over there, so there's no sense talking to him right now. Also from last week, I talked about Mr. Polk, but I talked about the Jesup trees, and I got a call. Someone said, I'm going to be in Memphis this summer. Tell me more about those trees where I can see them. And so I started researching, and they are at the Agri Center International in Memphis, Tennessee, and they were exhibited for several years, but for the last 2 decades, they have been in storage. So probably they're not available to be seen. So, but I did email them and say, I guess I don't know exactly. I kind of hinted the fact that I'm from Jesup, Iowa, and I'd love to see those trees. And so I don't know if that'll do any good or not, but.
Dropping names is what you're doing.
Well, just hope it's a heavy enough drop that they will say, well, if you come out, we'll be glad to show them to you. So that is kind of a carryover from that show from last week. And so.
Very good, very good. Thank you for that update. In Jesup Public Library news, the Spice Club this month is, I believe, Tajin, Tajin.
Yeah, and it's not in the dictionary. I looked it up, and it's a trademarked name. And so it's what you said, kind of like a chili seasoning or something like that, maybe. I'm not positive. But my wife asked Becky, and Becky told my wife told me, and I have since forgotten what she said. So I'm sorry. I'll do better. I write it down next week. So.
The summer story time in the park this week started today, June 1st. We taped this on the 1st, although this comes out on the 5th. It was at Hirschberger Park in Emerald Acres today for story time. Next week on the 8th, it's in the Corn Park gazebo. And on the 15th, it's in Liberty Park on 100 Ann Street. On the 22nd, it's Westland of Corn Park, the Blue Playground. And on June 29th, Parker Muncie Pioneer Park. The summer reading program runs June 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. I love the programs they're having. One is Community Helpers and Hometown Heroes. The next week is Friendship and Team Building. June 21st is Gardening, and the 28th is Kindness.
Okay. I'm all for all those things.
Yeah, I am too. The Lawyer in the Park is Tuesday, or the Lawyer in the Library, forgive me, is tomorrow, June 6th at 6:30. Amy Davis is in from the Amy Davis Law Firm. The English paper piecing. We are hosting 2 opportunities for this sewing class led by Kathy McFarland, Wednesday, June 15th at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Cost is $10 for a kit and all materials. Book Club, join us Monday, June 19th at 1 p.m. to discuss Hollywood Park by Mikkel Jolett. Movie Monday is June 26th, and the movie is still to be determined.
Okay.
I hope it's Casablanca.
It may be, but they show that on TCM so many times that I know it by heart. So.
Support the Jesup Public Library by buying Velvet Coffee or the Polar Camel water bottle. New things to check out include the croquet set, disc golf, and a digital camera, and a spike ball game. Dale, we ought to play spike ball someday.
Do you know how that is played?
No, I don't.
I don't either, so.
Okay.
We have to hire a kid to show us.
Yeah. We'll get that on video for our fans.
You have a fan? Oh, never mind. Go ahead. All right.
Not by the latest emails,
Yes,
Dale.
yeah, okay. All right.
New things to check out. The Jesup Public Library is more than books. Don't forget that. Dolly Parton Imagination Library is also there for children ages 0 through 5 years. Enroll online today. And don't forget 1,000 books before kindergarten. Get your children reading now. So that's Jesup Public Library news. Dale, let's go to the winners and losers for the week.
Okay, well, Speaker of the House, McCarty,
Yes?
I think is probably the winner of the week because, he had a lot of trouble becoming Speaker in his own caucus. And just by the skin of his teeth did he make it after, 13 ballots or something. And for him to be able to get the votes to pass this budget thing in the House, I think was a major accomplishment because I didn't think he had it. He didn't have, looking for the word, the moxie or the gusto or whatever to get the job done for this when there's so much controversy. And so he's my winner of the week. I think this is probably a big deal for him. For now and for his future. And I heard a little thing aside here that if it passes, the United States will need to raise, by selling treasury bonds, $1 trillion in the next 6 months so they can pay off and pay back all the money they've been shifting around from account to pay the bills up until this time. And so I don't know what the interest rate is on treasury bills, but it's probably pretty good. So you can see how it just keeps piling up, mounting and mounting and mounting. And someone told me a little like if you pile a stack of dollar bills to the moon, that would be this number, this sort of thing. And there's something like that for $1 trillion, but I cannot remember what I was going to look that up, and I didn't. But it's just a fantastic, your brain can't conceptualize $1 trillion and to realize that we're, $31 trillion in the hole. And, that money's not out there, So I don't know. But anyway, I didn't think from the past, from when McCarty tried to become Speaker, for him to get this done. I thought even though I don't like him, he should be my winner this week. So
It's a big win for him.
yeah.
Yep. He part of the problem right now, Dale, is we have, besides President Biden, we have 535 other men and women who think they're president of the United States right now as well.
That's probably true. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay. My winner is John Skipper. He is one of the co-founders of Meadowlark Media. He is former head of the ESPN network,
Okay.
and he was incredible. Did a lot for women and minorities on that network. Brought ESPN into modern times, and then he became addicted to drugs, and he was fired. And he was good friends with Dan Le Batard down in Miami, who worked for ESPN. And when he was fired, Le Batard rushed to Carolina to be with him. And they talked over the years, and they found Meadowlark Media, and they have built quite a media network themselves. And his name is John Skipper. Dale, who is your loser for the week?
well, again, there's lots of candidates for loser. It seems like, but this is the one that affected me the most. I read the Des Moines Register, and I also read the Waterloo Courier every day. And the Register had an article, and they still do investigative reporting. You can write them about a concern, and they will look into it. And I'm not sure this is a part of that, but there's a big, long article about a nursing home in Iowa inspected by Human Services or whoever does the inspecting, and rotten food lying around in the kitchen, people not, laying in their beds and not being changed when they need to be changed, mice running around. Apparently some of the patients were found with drugs, and they say, "Oh, yeah, we buy them right here in the nursing home." And they had some pretty good marijuana, I guess, and I guess they buy it from somebody in the nursing home, and everything's dirty. And the poor people, and the older you get, the more you think about nursing homes. But Iowa, the regulators, they have cut down the number of inspectors. They have nursing homes are fined, and then they forgive the fines. The people who own nursing homes give lots of money to our politicians as far as campaign donations and this sort of thing. And I just don't see how people can make money on the misery of others when these old people, they need somebody to take care of them. And I know, man, that's a tough job, and you don't make much money. And the people that will work for that kind of money, I remember Celine Schumann, she would say she worked with some really slow learners and this sort of thing at school. She said, what bothers me the most is these are the people going to be taking care of me in the nursing home someday. And, I'm sure that's not 100% true, but these older people, they deserve more respectful taking care of in their elder years. And by God, every time I see an article like that, I just can't get over why we can't do a better job of inspecting these nursing homes and getting them up to snuff. And because people are making a lot of money, even if you're on Title 19 or whatever, and that's all the money you get to pay, they're still making tons of money as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, the nursing home industry, you are my losers of the week. So.
My loser is a man by the name of Frank Abagnale. I'm sure you've heard of him. He was made famous in a movie by Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie called Catch Me If You Can.
All right, I actually saw that movie.
Yep.
Okay.
And they make Frank Abagnale out to be the greatest criminal in the history of the world. They make him out to be a doctor at one time, a lawyer at one time. They don't talk about it, but he claimed to be a college professor at one time. And he also claimed to have...
You mean an airline pilot?
Oh, he was a pilot.
Yeah.
He flew deadhead on several flights. But how he made his money is he made counterfeit checks.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
And he claimed to have made over $1.3 million, $1.3 million worth of checks. Unfortunately, research has been done, and nobody can find that he was ever a college professor. Nobody can find that he made more than maybe $100,000 in checks.
Okay.
The truth about the supposed greatest criminal in the history of our country is not the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he is, in my mind, the loser of the week for me. Yeah. Frank Abagnale. You get a chance to look up Frank. There's no doubt he was an interesting man, but not as interesting as he, he conned people.
Yeah, that was his thing.
Yeah.
So I think in the movie he got a job at the end with the FBI to help them find
He did
people
get a
like
job
him.
with the FBI.
Was that true? Okay.
That was true.
All right.
No.
And how did you know how that worked out? Or
He worked for them for a long time, and then he started his own company.
Okay.
When he started his own company, he went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't as good as
he thought he was.
Yeah.
Though our government paid him all those years to.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, that's part of that $1 trillion we need to raise. So.
Yeah, they did. Dale, would you talk about the obituaries brought to you by White's Funeral Home?
Okay. All right, we have 3 obituaries, and the first I'm going to talk about is Kimberly Zayas, and they're going to have a celebration of life service for her. She was 61 years old. She was living in Cedar Falls. She formerly is from Jesup, but she died on Wednesday, May 24th. And so the complete obituary is going to come out later on, as I understand it. But I see her picture here, and I recognize her as a Jesup person. So this next one is Diane S. Miller, and I knew Diane quite well. She worked in the elementary school, and she was the lunch lady for years, and tried to make the kids eat their peas, but they avoided that religiously. Okay. Diane S. Miller, 86 years old, of Jesup, died Friday, May 26th at Unity Point Allen Memorial Hospital in Waterloo. They had private family graveside services at 10:30 Wednesday, May 31st at Cedar Crest Cemetery. And they also had a public visitation from 4 to 6 on Tuesday, May the 30th. Any memorials can be directed to the First Presbyterian Church here in Jesup. Diane was born on March 29, 1937 in Buchanan County, Iowa, the daughter of Claire Miller and Esther Delilah Walter Miller. She graduated from Quasqueton High School and attended Mount Mercy College in Cedar Rapids. On June 15, 1956, that's the same anniversary I have, she was in united marriage to John William Miller at the Union Church in Quasqueton, Iowa, and I'm sure a lot of people in Jesup knew John. He was a barber and then also worked at school for many years as a custodian. They moved to Jesup in the fall of 1958 and raised their family. Diane worked as a teacher's aide at Jesup Community School and also in the lunchroom. She was a member of the First Presbyterian Church in Jesup and a past member of the Order of the Eastern Star. She is survived by 3 sons, Steve, wife Marcy Miller of Waterloo, Greg Miller and Bruce Miller, both of Jesup, a son-in-law, Jeff Youngblood of Jesup, 2 sisters, Judy, Jack Hines of DeBary, Florida, Martha Miller of Daytona Beach, Florida, and 1 brother, J.C. Patty Miller of Bradenton, Florida. 8 grandchildren, Kyle Miller, Brent Miller, Mackenzie Miller, Hunter Miller, Mandy Miller, Emily Miller, Ryan Youngblood, and Kelly Soppy, and 8 grandchildren. In addition to her husband, John, she is preceded in death by her parents, 1 daughter, Cindy Youngblood, and 1 brother, Arch Miller. Online condolences, I'm sure, can still be posted at whitemounthope.com. And so I think Mackenzie Miller, did you ever as a student?
Yes.
I did too. She was a really good, sharp girl. Mm-hmm. And the other ones, I'm afraid I did not know. And then our last one is Sally A. Kresser, and Kresser's a Jesup name. Sally Ann Kresser, 76 years old, of Independence and formerly of Waterloo and Prairie du Chien, died Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at Unity Point St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids. Services were Friday, May 26th at St. Athanasius Catholic Church here in Jesup. Memorials can still be directed to the family, and you can post online condolences at whitemounthope.com. Sally was born January 10, 1947 in Waterloo, the daughter of Douglas Franklin Carpenter and Helen Marie Jensen Carpenter. Graduated from West High School with a class of 65. On May 21st, 1966, she was united in marriage to Thomas Edward Cresser in Waterloo, and she worked in the Waterloo banking industry and retired from U.S. Bank in Waterloo, where she was a divisional operations manager. Sally is survived by her husband Tom of Independence, 2 daughters, Shelley Martin King of Olathe, Kansas, Carrie Fred Schutte of Byron, Minnesota, and 6 grandchildren, Quentin, Tommy King, Griffin King, Bryce Schutte, Mackenzie Schutte, Noah Schutte, 3 great-grandchildren, Caroline, Preston, Josie, and 1 on the way. Also 3 brothers, Douglas Carpenter of Florida, Robert Carpenter of Waterloo, and Gary Carpenter of Raymond. And her parents preceded her in death. So those are the 3 obituaries we have today, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dale. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. And we're here tonight with Maurice Walsh, and we're going to talk about his lifelong service to our area and his work to bring the railroad depot to independence. And we were talking earlier, so I'm going to ask some questions, and Dale will ask some questions that we spoke on earlier. Where did you grow up? Let's start with that.
I grew up at Orne. We lived about a mile and a half out of Orne, and I went to school all my life in Orne, graduated from Orne.
Okay. And where'd you go to college?
Upper Iowa.
Yeah, Peacock. That's where I
Yes.
went as well. Good. And what'd you major in?
Elementary education.
Okay. How long did you teach, Morris, and where did you teach?
I taught, I retired after 46 years, and I taught 2 years in a country school, one first year at Westgate, Iowa, and the other one was out west of Fairbank, and then I came into Fairbank and stayed there all my life.
Okay.
You must have been a real pioneer as an elementary education,
Yeah,
because I was in the 70s, and there were very few men in elementary education then at school. So
well, that period of time, my time in the service was with, we were occupational troops after the Second World War, and a lot of these young guys that came back after the war had the GI Bill, and a lot of them just happened to go into education. Well, they found out that wasn't a big money maker, and so they only taught maybe a year or 2, and then they got into insurance and some other
got a real
field.
job.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Right. What you said you were in the military? What branch of the military were you in?
I was a medic, 109th Medical Company.
And you were in Germany?
I was in Germany.
Okay.
Okay. And when did you go in, and when did you get out of the military?
1951 and 53. I come out in 53.
Okay.
So did you see Elvis when you were over there?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. he was a little later, I guess, than that. But,
Right.
yeah.
And so you went to Upper Iowa, got your education degree, and were hired by the Wapsie Valley or the Fairbanks School District. What was the school district?
Yeah, Wapsie. It was Wapsie Valley. Well, actually, at that particular time, it was Fairbank.
And
Fairbank,
Orange still had their own school then, didn't they?
Fairbank High School. Fairbank.
But didn't Orange have their own high school also at that time?
Orange had their own high school. Yeah.
Because I remember playing baseball there. And
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah, years. And they had their own high school, and Fairbank had 2 high schools. They had the parochial school and the
Yeah.
public school,
Yeah.
and every little town had their own high school.
Yeah.
And now, there's only 3 in the whole county, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty good in baseball, but we didn't mount to anything in basketball because we never had a gym. We shot baskets on the coal shed.
Yeah.
Out the coal shed. And we had to play our games in Fairbank gym. We played our home games in Fairbank.
sure,
Right.
yeah. And that wasn't very big, was it,
No.
compared to what they are now?
Yeah.
And, I remember reading once somewhere in Iowa, they had a gym had a support pole right in the middle of the floor,
Well,
and they used to use that to peel off their guy guarding them, and so.
I'll tell you, I worked for, during the summer, I think when I was still in school, either junior or senior, I worked for Jacob's floor sanding, painting and floor sanding, and he was out of Old Wine. And we we finished the Aurora gym
Okay,
at that time.
yeah.
And the ceiling was so low that you had to almost shoot a straight shot.
Okay.
We didn't have a pole in the middle, but
Yeah.
it was their ceiling was just so low that
Yeah, they couldn't play volleyball there, could they?
No.
So, well, that's very interesting because some of those old gyms have, of course, they're all gone now, but they
Yeah.
have interesting stories. I get you off track.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry, but I
good.
found that
No,
interesting.
that's why we have Morris here. So Morris, you taught over 40 years, and then you retired, and then you started your second career.
after my teaching, I spent 2 years in the service, and then along with my teaching, of course, we had a big family, so I needed the extra income, so I took the city clerk's job and had that for 20 years. And then after I retired from that, then I was elected mayor for 30 years.
That's at Fairbank?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time to be. You must be a popular man in Fairbank to get
I
30
don't know,
elections or
must
30
be.
years for. Is that every 2 years you had to run?
Yes.
Or? Wow. So.
Yeah.
And how many children did you guys have?
I was in Germany when our first was born and was born, and so I requested to come home,
Sure.
and I did. But then we had 8 of our own, and then we took my wife's sister when she was 5 years old because her mother passed away.
Okay. So,
Yeah, when she was 43. So.
yeah.
So do you want to say hi to any of those? Do you think any of those would listen to this podcast?
I don't know, probably not.
So are your children around the area or?
We have 4 in Fairbank, and the oldest one and the second boy they're both contractors.
Uh-huh.
And and then I have a daughter, 2 daughters in Fairbank, and
So that's nice. They all stay close to home
Yeah,
for you.
it
That's
is.
great.
so I spent a little time in the hospital last winter. So I had daughters.
Yeah, I bet-
daughters stayed right with us.
Did you guys do a lot of babysitting with grandkids then?
No, not very often.
Not really? Okay. So I would have thought that you'd have been prime suspects for.
Yeah.
What? So I know that you were real active, Morris, in bringing the railroad depot to Independence. You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Well, to begin with, we were longtime members of Fayette County Tourism, and we were asked to come to Buchanan County Tourism and join to help them get organized back in those days. And we had a slight meeting in Jeanette Randall's mother's kitchen one day, and I made the comment that we should be a liable organization if we had a location of our own, because we were sharing places with other organizations in Independence, and so we didn't have a place of our own. So I made the comment that we should have a place of our own, and Jeanette Randall, who was a member at that time, agreed, and she stated that she knew the Illinois Central wanted to move the depot, and they wanted to get it off the track where it was located. And she said, by the way, I see a sign in Leroy Greenleaf's lot over there that he has for sale. And she said, I'll check with Leroy. And Leroy wasn't selling the lot, he was selling railroad ties.
Oh.
He had his sign out there by some old railroad
Okay.
ties.
Yeah.
So anyway, Leroy, being a good community person, agreed to sell us the location. So we now had the location, and we knew we could get the depot, so we applied for a grant. And we were, the grant was through the Transportation Department, and we were given better than $200,000
Oh, wow.
for the grant. And that started us on the right track
Yeah.
to move the depot. Anyway, in Fayette County, we had moved a log cabin up there, and our mover was from Maudina, Ellsworth, from Maudina, and he came down and looked at the depot, but he decided it was too big because the depot weighed 350 ton.
Oh, my.
And he said he'd have to rent so much equipment, so many wheels, so he wasn't interested. So Jeanette continued to look, and she found a mover from Kentucky, and his name was Edwards Mover and Moving and Rigging. I didn't know what rigging was. I went to the dictionary and looked up for rigging, and rigging has to do with sailors, the ropes on
On the ship.
ships
Yes.
and so.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had an advertisement. I remember at the time he had an advertisement of moving a silo across a body of water. Almost an unthinkable thing,
Yeah.
you know. And I suppose that's where the riggers come in.
Right.
But anyway, we got the we actually got $205,000 of transportation money, and Jeanette then got an agreement with Edwards from Kentucky to move the depot, and he come out and looked at it and proceeded to move it. And I remember at the time we put chalk mark on the wheel because it moved so slow you could hardly see it move, because they moved it off about 3 blocks off the track where what originally was.
Okay, so I was going to ask you how far. So 3
Yes.
blocks they had to move it?
Yeah, they built about 3 blocks had to. So that took care of the move, and
Do you remember how much he charged you to do that? Or do you remember? Or?
I suppose the total amount.
Oh, you know, okay, because that's a lot of money in those
Yes.
days. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but see, he moved that and plus the baggage building
Uh-huh.
also.
Yeah.
And how long did that take him to lift it up, to get under it, to,
Well, I
to
think
do all that?
a week or better at the preparations. You
Oh,
know.
sure. Yeah.
And the moving time was actually November '95.
That is a
No.
beautiful site for the tourism center.
Yeah, the total grant was $205,800, and the time was November 18th, 1995.
Okay.
And what did the building cost to buy?
The building
Yeah.
was actually built in 1913 and 14 at a total cost of $40,000.
Okay. And what did you guys have to pay to buy it from the railroad?
$1.
$1.
Yeah.
Inflation didn't take over there, did it?
Yeah.
That,
No, they wanted to get rid of it because it was a liability to
Yeah,
them. You know, to sit down there on the track.
Yeah.
And they wanted somebody to take it or demolish it.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah. I went to the depot once. My aunt was coming from Indiana on the train. It was been in the early 60s, and it was in the middle of the night. So I drove down there to get her. Well, the train comes in. She doesn't get off. I lived in Hazleton, so I went back home. Well, then as soon as I got home, I got a phone call. Why don't you come and get me? And I said, well, you weren't on the train. Well, sure she was. And while I had seen the train come in from the west, I should have been waiting for the eastbound train, or from the east train. so I was not very smart in those days. And so, so that's the last time I was at the depot, but actually the trains were still going through at that time.
As my wife worked at Rockford, Illinois, and she used to take the train from Independence.
Yeah. No, it was, well, you went through Jesup, called the Land of Corn. They had passenger
Yeah.
trains through here all the time for many years. And it was, I don't know when I should know when the last one was, but I don't remember.
I don't know. I know there was a train out of Orne, out of Owine. It started in Owine and left, and it went to Clarion, Iowa. And we lived at a mile and a half out of Orne, and we'd be out in the field, and we always waited for that depot. We called it the Dinky.
Yeah.
And it would come back to Owine about 6 o'clock in the evening, and then in the morning had to go to Clarion.
Okay.
there was a roundhouse in Owine, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Owine was called Hub City because it had, well, the Rock Island went through there, and the Chicago Great Western, I know, went through there.
Yeah.
And you waited for trains sometimes a long time when you were in the car
Yeah.
at the crossings. And But no, it was the whole town was railroad. My brother
Yeah.
worked for the Chicago Great Western and others.
My uncle worked at the railroad and didn't know why. And then during the Second World War, he went to California, worked in the shipyard.
The so how many? Who else was on the committee with you to help move that?
Well, I don't remember a lot. A lot of the members were railroad people. You know, at Winthrop and Hazelton, different places.
Okay, and they were anxious probably to save the depot, weren't they? They were probably anxious to save the
Yes,
depot because they
yes.
would have torn it down, I'm sure, if they hadn't found somebody to get it.
Yeah, yeah, and they were all good workers, but I don't want to repeat names because I leave somebody out.
Oh,
and I
sure,
don't
sure,
want-
I understand. Yeah.
I'm sure you outlived them all, so they won't complain. See,
No,
if you do.
probably not.
That's all right.
In fact, I'm about the only living crew member left out
Well,
there.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you weren't. Yeah.
Well, Morris, do you mind if I ask how old are you?
About 2 weeks, I'll be 95.
Ah, and you were telling me before we went on the air that you were out in the garden working today.
Yeah, I was working in the yard and I got bit by something.
Okay. Yeah. And the bugs are always there, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Morris, you were involved with that. You were involved as city clerk and the mayor. What are some things you're real proud of that you accomplished when you were mayor in Fairbank?
Oh, I had quite a list of stuff. But I did it hot while I was mayor, or I guessed it when I was city clerk. I made a timeline. Fairbank was incorporated in 1891, and all the mayors and all the clerks that served from then till now. And I also had on that timeline all the accomplishments and what year they were put into service, along with the population during that time too. When I took the clerk's job, Fairbank was 650 population, and now it's about 1,300. So
Yeah, it
we've
is.
doubled.
Yeah, there's some nice homes there on the east side
Yes.
out in there, and
They're all in the Fayette County side.
oh, are they? Okay. I know my uncle. He said he had to pay taxes like to 3 different counties or something.
Oh,
You know,
right.
when he
Yeah.
had farmland, and so
Because we're Black Hawk and Buchanan, and Fayette goes all
Yeah.
right there at the
Yeah.
intersection. Yeah.
Tri-County area.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Excuse me, to avoid your question, some of the accomplishments, the big thing, we put in a swimming pool and we allowed $30,000 and we set aside another $10,000 if we needed it, but we had a lot of volunteer work. And we bought that pool from Bishop and he put in a pool in Winthrop at the same time. But in Winthrop, the pool was put in at the mill. Dust and dirt from the mill always came.
sure.
Ah,
It
yeah.
was a swimming pool there. I remember that.
Yeah.
But he was a different individual. Everything had to be cash. You had to. I know my wife and I, after we had the pool in, we went down and got a heater. We went to Carlisle, Iowa, and bought the heater, but we had to carry the cash with us because everything had to be cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a different individual. He retired from the service and he got into making these pools.
He was a cash guy.
He
Yeah.
was kind of shady.
Yeah, well, I think so,
A little
yeah.
different.
What year, or do you remember when the island park? It's been a long time, but it really seemed like it's the last, I don't know how many years. It looks very, very nice. Like they put a lot of work into that over the years.
I remember one of the elderly guys that passed away here quite a few years ago, but I remember he making a comment that he used a horse and a slip, a slip at the time,
Yeah.
to
Dig out the dirt.
put dirt around the.
Yeah.
And he worked on the island there, and he said that particular way was paying his poll tax.
Ah, okay.
He had, but it's been there a long time.
Yeah, I know it has. Yeah, because
Yeah.
no, when I was a little kid, I used to fish there.
Oh,
We'd come over and fish there.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, a lot of people fish there yet, especially the Amish.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they like to fish. You see a lot of Amish at Fontana, too.
According to my son's a big fisherman. he never keeps hardly any fish. He fishes for bass all the time.
Yeah.
He has a cabin on the Mississippi. But anyway, he said that Amish keep everything.
Yeah.
No matter how big or small, they keep everything.
They fish for food.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. So Morris, what's your latest project that you've been working on besides your garden?
Our big thing, we have a store downtown. It used to, it's one of the older buildings that left in Fairbank. It has, it was the 1897 cafe. It's across the city hall. And I told my grandson, you can have the building because I spent more than $13,000 to tear down our old apartment house, which was a hotel at one time.
Uh-huh.
And and then so anyway, he applied for a grant, and we still have all the stuff in that building. It was full of antiques. We have to get that out of there.
Yeah. You need a museum,
When
don't you?
Yes, when he starts to work on the thing.
Yeah.
That's one of the
That's a lot of
latest
work.
things.
You got a lot of work ahead of you
Yes.
there, Morris. Yeah. So, Morris, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we finish?
Well, I might go through the time I spent in the depot in getting it in shape.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah.
nice to know, yeah.
Anyway, I was saying that the depot was built in 1913-14 at $40,000. It weighed three ton, and they moved it. Never cracked a window or anything.
Isn't that amazing?
And shortly after it was moved, we applied for a grant to tuck point the building, and that grant was $88,000. $44,000 was the amount of the grant, and we had to come up with the other $44,000. So
And how did you raise that money?
I'll tell you, our organization, our people, our members, did a lot of fundraising. We used to begin with, we went to Hazelton. Hazelton had bingo, so we would serve lunches at the Legion building there.
Yeah.
Right.
And we would generally take a month at a time, or sometimes 2 months, and once a week they had bingo, so we raised money that way. During the time of fair, the fair generally ran a week, and I remember we would leave Fairbank about 5 o'clock in the morning in order to get down to the fairgrounds to make pancakes for.
Yeah.
As we made money that way. We had Christmas at the mill. We had Christmas trees at the mill.
Okay.
And just a lot of different things. We were associated a lot with tourism groups in Des Moines. I remember building a rack that went into our. It was a station wagon or something. Anyway, I built a rack to fit in there because we would meet with the legislators for a day, and you could only give them something that valued about $3.
Oh, okay.
So we took all kinds of pies down there to Des Moines, from Fairbank to Des Moines, and we carried them down on this rack.
So you could buy a legislator for a pie. That's pretty good. So.
and we when they'd come visit our booth, we'd give them a slice of pie.
Uh-huh. So
There was just a lot of things that we.
I know you have the Christmas at the depot now. I mean, I've been over there
Yes.
several times. At
It
Christmas
was
time,
different
yeah.
then. We had the live trees.
Uh-huh.
And that place is so cold because that water running. We'd wear overshoes sometimes. It was awful cold.
Yeah. So.
And that went on for a week time. We raised a lot of money anyways. A lot
Yeah.
of people working to.
Yeah. Well, that's it's amazing what a little hard work can do, isn't it? And
Yeah.
if you really try. So.
But different ones like railroad man, especially from Winthrop, responsible for getting the depot and the engine on the track
Yeah.
to the west of the building there in Independence, and that particular amount of money, I think right now is $45,412. That it's a separate account.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
they have this that much money
Yeah.
Yeah.
set aside.
It's amazing what you've done in your life, Maurice. You know.
So anyway, just to give you a little time of what I spent in the depot. After my retirement, I of course then I had that fall and winter. I worked in the depot a lot to get that in shape. So for one thing, there was a hole about this big in the ceiling, and I closed that hole up because the stovepipe went up through there. It had a heater in there.
Yeah.
That's the way they heat
Yeah.
heat in the depot. Anyway, I closed that hole up and then proceeded to paint the depot inside. The worst part of the painting was I had two colors. I had a lighter color on the top and a darker on the bottom, about chair railing high. And I put a half-inch colored line across. That was the hardest thing, I think,
I bet,
of
yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I painted the interior of that building, and along with varnishing in the windows, cleaning the floor was another part of the project. I was told that I could get all that dirt out of those cracks in the floor by taking a hammer and a short 2x4, by beating on it and pop that dirt out of the cracks, and that didn't work. So that complete depot floor, I took a sharp item and I think like an ice pick or something, and went through every crack
Yeah.
in that floor before I sealed it. So I did that before sealing the floor. The section guys had an oil barrel over on the west side. That oil barrel, of course, they weren't careful, and oil got on the floor, and I had to try to get that cleaned up before I sealed the floor. So I got a big box of soda, and every morning I would put soda on that spot, and then the next morning I'd throw that out, put fresh soda,
Okay.
and eventually got that oil out of that.
Is that right? Okay.
Area, and sealed the floor. The benches originally came from Waterloo, and they were walnut and awful heavy, so they also had crack probably 2 inches. So I had to varnish those benches, and I know at the time we hauled those to Fairbank rather than come down to the depot and spend the time on those benches. All the storm windows were stored in Butterfield's building over there, but Butterfield had the garage
Oh, okay. I remember that.
next to the depot, and all of those windows were there. Those windows were probably between 6 and 7 feet high.
Wow.
They were awful heavy.
I
Yeah.
bet you they were.
They were big windows, and I think if I remember right, there was 23 of them, and I did all the windows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I was going to say is putty. Yeah.
And then painted all the storm windows. That's one of the things I had mentioned the other day. I was stopping at the depot. I said, those windows need painting again because the sills are showing it. So anyway, I went to the Butterfield building and I did that over there, and then they were brought back to the depot and of course hung, and they were put on turnbuckles at the time. I see now that they're actually screwed on
Oh, okay.
onto the building.
Yeah.
But basically, that's about.
Well, I would say you did an awful lot.
That's.
I would-
I spent
and,
almost a year
Yeah, yeah. And it's a very nice building. I've been in this,
doing
and
that.
it's very nice.
I had 3 of our sons helped us with that. Like I said, the benches were moved to Fairbank. Our oldest son helped us do that. In the office part of the building, that floor was giving away a little bit from where it should be, and our second son is and Jack's under that. Jack that up, got it back where it's supposed to be. Our other son helped me with the floor. Basically, those three boys donated a lot of their time to
Yeah. Well, that's good.
help me. So
That's good.
when I need help.
You taught them well.
Yeah.
So
Morris, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank you.
coming
It's been
in.
very interesting.
Tonight. It's a pleasure to meet you.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Had a good
And,
life.
Yeah, well, I think so, and you've shared a lot of your life with other people and helped. You think of how many people have been through that depot and seen the work that you did. So that's really nice.
So anyway,
yeah, it got done. That's the main thing.
thank
isn't
you
it?
so much.
Thank you very
It's
much.
a pleasure to meet you. We have the sixth step to success. I think I said the fifth step to success from Mandino's great book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. The sixth step is I will be the master of my emotions.
Okay.
Probably of all of these, Dale, this has been the toughest one of my life to control my emotions. But Mandino writes, "And how I will master my emotions so that every day is a happy day and a productive one. I will learn the secrets of the ages. Weak is he who permits his thoughts to control his actions. Strong is he who forces his actions to control his thoughts. Each day when I awaken, I will follow this plan of battle before I am captured by the forces of sadness, self-pity, and failure. If I feel depressed, I will sing. If I feel sad, I will laugh. If I feel ill, I will double my labor. If I feel fear, I will plunge ahead. If I feel inferior, I will wear new garments. If I feel uncertain, I will raise my voice. If I feel poverty, I will think of wealth to come. If I feel incompetent, I will remember past success. If I feel insignificant, I will remember my goals. And today, I will master my emotions." I just love Mandino.
I know you do. There's a lot to that. I remember, like, if you're sick for 3 or 4 days, just been laying around in a sweatsuit, not shaving or anything, not showering, just moaning and groaning and feeling sorry for yourself. And then one day you wake up and you say, okay, so you shave and you shower and you dress up a little bit, and it makes you feel a whole lot better, even though you may feel exactly the same, but you've done something to try to perk yourself up. And I think, part of that is what he is saying there. It's just, there are things you can do for yourself, for your emotions. And
Yeah,
so,
I agree with that. Dale, you have something on the flag.
well, I excuse me, was looking at June. One of the big holidays in June. Well, there's Flag Day, and we put up all those flags between 400 and 500 out from 6th Street out to the cemetery. So I guess I'm thinking about flags too. And so I did a little research on the United States flag. And Jim, how many stripes on this flag? And how many are red? And how many are white?
Oh, gosh. I believe 7 are red and 6 are white.
Right. Start with the red and end with the red. So that is correct. Okay. And do you know the stripes? You know what they're called? The proper term?
Are they the bars?
Well, no, it's called Barry or Barry, B-A-R-R-Y. Okay, so that was close. And the stars are called?
I don't know.
I didn't
The
know that.
stars.
They're called mullets.
The mullets.
They're the mullets.
Okay.
So
All right.
flags, there's flag terminology, and the mullets are the things that are in the field, no matter what they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
The number of them.
Okay.
Okay. And it's interesting, the Flag Day has only been a national holiday since August 3rd, 1949, when it was passed by Congress and signed by President Truman. There's been lots of things done by cities and states and this sort of thing, but it didn't become a national holiday until 1949. And quite honestly, I don't think it's celebrated very much. Most of, I think the banks and the post office get the day off, and that's all I know. But the Continental Congress in June 14, 1777, this is their resolution, that the flag of the United States shall be of 13 stripes of alternate red and white, with a union of 13 stars of white in a blue field representing the new constellation. Now, these stars were the new constellation put into the sky, letting the other countries know that something new had appeared. Okay, that's where they put it. Interesting to me, this is from my own history, is that they did not say anything about how the stars should be placed. And so several different designs over the years, and sometimes they had more than one design in different places, and the flag wasn't really flown that much, but it ended up in a circle, the Revolutionary era
Yeah.
flag. Okay, And, well, when was the last time a flag was only good for 1 year? I'll ask you that.
Well, it would have been between Alaska and Hawaii.
Okay. And I was the Weekly Reader. Remember the Weekly Reader?
Right.
They had a big contest. And it was a nationwide contest to decide what those stars should look like on the 50-star flag.
Right.
And someone sent in a design, a kit, and it had USA spelled out in white stars
Oh,
on the
cool.
blue field. I said, hey, a winner. I thought that
Yeah.
was really good. But they ended up just with the alternating rows like they have now.
Right.
But there was no standard, nothing in the law that said how it had to look.
Uh-huh.
And so, speaking of the stars, can you picture in your mind the stars on the flag and how they look? Or
Yeah.
okay, and what do you notice about them? They're all the same. I'm not asking the question right, but at the top of each star, you'll notice that there's one little triangle poked up, and at the bottom there's two down.
Okay.
Okay, I never noticed it before. Alan Wright got some old fire hose.
So right behind us here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Alan Wright got some old fire hose, and he built a wooden frame, and he cut the hose into, and he kept some more of the white, and he painted some red, and he made an American flag. It's about as big as that TV over there. He made two of them, actually. And for the blue field, he painted it blue, and then he got a piece of metal, and he got a laser cutter, and he cut the 50 stars out and put it on the field, and then he sprayed the white, so he had the white stars. So I went in to look at his flag one day, and great job. It's heavy, but it's made out of the fire hose, had Jesup Fire Department, some of the hoses. It was very nice, and I think it's hanging in the fire department now, I believe. Saw him a couple of days later. He said, you notice anything different about those, or funny about those stars? I said, no. He said, somebody else came in, looked at him, and said, those stars are upside down. And he says he had never looked at them that carefully.
Yeah.
So he went and looked at a flag and said all the little points are up, So he had to paint all the stars in blue and then do the white over again. So I just thought that was very interesting because I had never noticed they were one way or another. They could be whirling for all I know. So I just thought that was very interesting.
Speaking, Alan, forgive me, I know
Yeah.
you're not done, but I saw him down in the park today. He was starting his steps towards the Farmer's Day.
Yeah, yeah.
And his work, he'll be down there countless hours if you get a chance and you're looking for Alan. Whenever I'm looking for Alan, Joyce just says, well, you know where he is. He's in the park.
Yeah, he told me he's down. Mice got in there, and so he's doing a lot of cleaning.
Yeah.
Of the little mice droppings, and we are on this Sunday at the car. Yeah, the car cruise. This will be over with. Okay. Well, at the car cruise anyway, we're selling the little mini donuts, and then in June sometime I have to drive up to Minneapolis and get the donut mix and haul it back here in my pickup because it costs as much to ship it as it does to buy it. And so I said, well, I have nothing to do. I'll drive up there and get it. And so, Howard Beyer usually rides along with me. And so we make a day of it.
Right.
And so it's kind of fun. Okay, the first battle, American flag, I thought this was flown in battle, was during the siege of Fort Stanwix on August 3rd, 1777. And the people there heard about the Congress and they designed the new American flag.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, they should have one. And so the soldiers cut up some white shirts of theirs to make the white stripes. And the officers' wives made the red stripes from their flannel petticoats. And then the blue from Captain Abraham Swartwout's coat was the field. And they still have, Congress later paid him for his coat. You can find a historical record of that. But I thought it was very interesting that the first flag flown in battle was partially women's underwear, I guess. But it seemed to do the job because they won the battle. But so that was the first one. There's actually no proof that Betsy Ross had anything to do with the first flag. She was not a flag maker of any kind. And that people from all over designed the flags for a long time. It's a naval flag. Long time they used almost the same thing as the East India flag. Benjamin Franklin was a real fan of that, I guess. The flag we have evolved from many different designs to what we have now.
Okay.
And the first flag raised over a foreign country was first American flag raised over a foreign country.
What country was an American flag first raised over?
No, yeah, what foreign country, what was the first time the American flag was raised in a foreign country?
Would that have been? Would that have been Germany?
No. Good guess. No, it was in April 27th, 1805, and Lieutenant Smedley O'Banion, United States Marine Corps, raised the flag with other U.S. Marines in Tripoli, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Yep.
Tripoli. That long ago.
Yeah, 1805.
Wow.
And so they captured this. They were fighting the pirates. And they captured the fort, and he and the other Marines raised the American flag.
Interesting.
So that's the first time. Okay. All right. Then I just want to do a little thing with flag etiquette, because some of this is interesting. You never dip the American flag for any person or thing. You know how sometimes they will, like passing in review.
Right.
You never dip the American flag. And I read an account years ago, it was at the Olympics in London, and they were getting ready for the big parade they have at the very beginning. And they always choose one man to carry the American flag, or one person. And so he's getting ready to go, and these Irish Americans come up to him, and they said, "You'll nae be dipping no flag to any English king today." And he said, "Okay." And that's where the tradition started. So the American flag is never dipped for anyone. The American flag should never touch anything beneath it. It should fly from dusk to dawn, unless it's light. If it's lighter, then you can fly overnight. You're not supposed to carry the flag horizontally. So when you see these big celebrations, like at football stadiums, sometimes they have military in uniform with a big flag, they're all carrying a flag. That's against flag etiquette.
It's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate, yes. But most of these things are kind of ignored now. Flags on wearing apparel are forbidden. And that's why I wore this shirt today, so you would see that.
Yeah.
And you see, really got started like during the anti-war movement in the late 60s, where people started sewing the American flag on their butt, on their blue jeans, as part of the protest. And so its use on wearing apparel is not allowed. You're not supposed to use the flag for promotional purposes or advertising, or print it on like paper napkins or boxes or anything else intended to be used and then temporarily and then discarded. Mm-hmm. And I was telling this to Fritz Keys the other day. We were talking about the flag. There's a restaurant in Cloquet, Minnesota called Gordy's. It's a great, been there since the 60s. Diner food. I mean, they go through tons. But when they make a sandwich, at the end, they have a toothpick with a little American flag on it, and they stick that in the bun. And so then all those little flags then get thrown in the trash when people are, and that bothers me. I don't, and I've never said anything to anybody about it, but it bothers me somewhat that all those little flags are just being thrown in the trash with the napkins and the leftover hamburger and this sort of thing. And so they said in the a lot of things are ignored like this, because people are sewing flags on hats and this sort of thing. It's all right for police officers and those sort of things to have flags on the uniforms, but for regular people, it's against the etiquette. So anyway.
Well, one thing that I knew from being a child, a lot of the stamps, postage stamps, have flags on.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to put that stamp on the letter upside down.
Right.
If you do, it means that you're in danger in your home.
Right. Yeah.
It's code now.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting how many people know that.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the flag etiquette. You can fly it upside down as a warning or indicate danger or something like that. It is proper. And when flags are flown at half staff, like when someone dies, important, it should be raised to the top and then slowly lowered half staff. And then at the end of the day, you raise it back to the top and then you bring it back down. Is the proper way of doing it. And same with Memorial Day. A Memorial Day is supposed to fly at half staff till noon and then full staff afternoon. And so I had not realized that for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So it's nice. I think a lot more people now are honoring the flag and thinking about the flag than ever before, as far as I'm concerned. You see it flying all over the place, and people are quite proud of their flag, and it is quite a good-looking flag, I think. So, all right, that's all I got.
Thank you, Dale.
That's all right.
In Jesup news, they're fixing a fire hydrant over by the fire station, actually.
That makes sense to me.
I don't know. Someone hit it last winter. It was leaking, actually.
Okay.
And so They've been working on that. The city is deciding on whether or not to hire a resident attraction company. Dale, I'll give you a guess. Do you know what a resident attraction company is?
I would assume it's a company that tries to get people to move to your town.
That's what I guess.
Yeah.
But City Hall told me different.
Okay.
What the job is this company protects whoever they're working for on the internet.
Oh,
So
okay.
if there's something posted on the internet that is wrong or inappropriate about Jesup, let's say someone is mad at Jesup
Yeah.
and attacks it,
Yep.
it is their job to find it and have it removed for us.
I have heard of that actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the cost is somewhere around, and Coley told me it's somewhere between $13,000 and $15,000 a year. Coley was telling me that actually Jesup Community School District has a resident attraction company for them.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, and protects them.
So I know businesses have to have something like that because, like your competitors can throw a bunch of negative comments on the internet and your business, folds because people
Right.
check those things. So,
Yep.
so don't believe anything you read on the internet. Who said that?
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They are asphalting part of 6th Street presently, and the splash pad quotes were due this past Thursday.
Okay.
Actually, they're not necessarily quotes. Yes, they are the quotes. They're not bids, they're quotes. 'Cause
Okay.
I believe only 2 companies in the area do like a splash pad, so
Okay.
they're
So these are estimates or they're bids?
they're bid.
They're
Well,
bid.
they're like bids. They're quotes.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
Coley called
No,
them
this
quotes.
is how much they would charge to do
Yes,
the job. Okay. All
yes.
right.
The lunch in the park starts the 8th, next Thursday.
Right.
Or so.
Be this coming Thursday.
This coming Thursday, yes. I was thinking it started last Monday, or last Thursday, but it didn't. It started the 8th. So they're still looking for anybody who may be interested in hosting lunch in the park all of July if you're interested.
I saw on the 8th, the library, Friends of the Library doing it. They're doing like a potato bar,
Yes.
I guess. And so,
Yeah.
I don't eat those normally, but I've had them at lunch in the park before, and they're quite good. So it's an interesting way to eat a potato.
Yeah, it's $5 is an incredible meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the community news for us. Tonight we have on a man that talks about the railroad depot in Independence. And so I thought I'd talk about the Green Mountain train wreck that took place here in Iowa, March 21st, 1910,
Okay.
at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Do you know where Green Mountain is?
I do know.
Okay.
It's over-
I've been there before. Okay.
yes,
All right.
it's actually over in Tama County, by Gladbrook, Iowa.
Yeah. And not
Yeah.
far from Marshalltown.
No,
And-
not far
Yeah.
from Marshalltown.
And
The coordinates actually are 42 degrees north and 60 degrees west.
a little aside here is that Gladbrook and Rhinebeck been feuding for since they combined, and Gladbrook even tried to get out of the district, had tried to have the district dissolved, but many kids from Gladbrook open enroll at Green Mountain, and actually. To my friends now, they're keeping that district afloat with all the money coming in
really?
from Gladbrook, because the Gladbrook people are very bitter about things with Rhinebeck, and so a lot of them go to Green Mountain to school. So
Yeah. But anyhow, the Green Mountain train wreck is the worst railroad accident in Iowa history. It occurred between Green Mountain and Garwin on the morning of March 21st, 1910, and killed 52 people.
oh wow, I never.
Yeah, it was a terrible wreck. A train wreck earlier that morning at Shelvsburg meant that the Rock Island Line trains were being diverted from Cedar Rapids to Waterloo over Chicago's Great Western Tracks via Marshalltown. The trains concerned were the number 21 St. Louis Twin Cities and the number 19 Chicago Twin Cities, which had been combined into a 10-car train with 2 locomotives traveling backward, tender first.
Okay.
And the new combined train now had 2 wooden cars sandwiched between locomotives and a steel Pullman car and other steel cars. So you had steel cars here,
Yeah.
and 2 wooden cars
In the middle. Yeah, okay.
And that was bad.
Yeah.
And so between Green Mountain and Gladbrook, just east of the Marshall County border, the lead engine left the track, hit a clay embankment, coming to a sudden stop. The steel cars sliced through the 2 wooden cars. I mean, I can't imagine the
horror,
force
yeah.
and the horror that it brought. The steel cars sliced through the 2 wooden coaches, a smoking car, and a ladies' day coach containing many children. There were no fatalities in the Pullman cars, in the metal cars.
Yeah.
One of the uninjured passengers said, "I saw a woman on the coach crushed into a bleeding mass, their bodies twisted out of human shape. I have seen what I shall see all my life when I dream." A relief train arrived 2 hours after the accident, and it was later reported the site was one of a horribly crushed, mutilated, and dismembered bodies. No official cause was ever released for the wreck, nor were any charges of neglect ever made, although the crash did result in the introduction of a new safety procedures.
Okay.
So I can't imagine those metal cars going into that wood.
No, I had never heard about that. That
Yeah.
is very interesting.
That's a Green Mountain train wreck. Any news on Farmers Day, Dale?
No, we're having our next meeting next Tuesday, so
Okay.
hopefully we'll have something more then to report. And
I'm proud to say that Thursdays in June and the 13th of July, I believe that's Thursday in July, at 1 o'clock, along with the Jesup Public Library, the Steve Brown Arts Center is hosting art in the park.
okay,
And today was the first one. Allie Borgerding and Becky Wirspan did Plaster Paris human with the children, and they were incredible.
Okay.
I went down to watch, and I thought I'd stop and take some pictures, and I ended up staying the whole hour watching as these kids just did incredible art.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah, there were probably about 15, 16 kids, and then 4 or 5 mothers and grandmothers, and Becky and Allie and myself. And although I'm not an artist, I assisted in some of the arts.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but. Some of the other things that Steve Brown Arts Center has going on in June include we're at the Farmers Market. We have a medium coming in June 10th from about 9 until 12 at the Independence Farmers Market. If you want your history read or your future read,
Okay.
your history and your future.
Okay, and she uses cards?
She uses cards, tarot cards.
Tarot card, okay.
Yep. We also we've also been doing StoryCorps, and we've had some neat stories. If you go to StoryCorps and type in Buchanan County, Iowa, they will come up. And some people that were interviewed included Serena Andrews, talks about her sister that passed away from cancer. Joe Olson, a friend of the Steve Brown Arts Center, talks about his support of art in Buchanan County, Iowa. We talked to Roger Barloon, the Independence music teacher, about how he got into education.
Okay.
So you get a chance, go to StoryCorps and type in Buchanan County, Iowa, and those interviews come up. Remember, they go into the Library of Congress.
And you're doing those during Farmers Day also.
We're doing those during
and
Farmers
the
Day as
gazebo
well.
is wide open for you.
Good.
Anytime you want. So.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We are also pushing really hard, and we don't have enough people yet for the theater group that is coming. It is the week of July 24th through July 28th from 9 until 5 each day. It's for all aspiring actors from ages 6 to 13. And these are professionals coming in, and they're going to help the students put on a drama that week at the end of the week.
It's a musical.
A musical,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I know. I was in a text thread today with Heather actually and Kara, and Heather said that they are putting on Mary Poppins this week.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
You're going out
yeah.
to Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
We are trying to get at least 20 students for that. Right now we have 4. And Kara's pushing that. I am working in Waterloo a little bit to get more people from Waterloo. We will get that.
The people putting this on are donating their time, and they're not taking no expense money or anything. They just Heather is a graduate of Jesup, and she knew Steve Brown, and she just thought this is a way that she could help, and so this is all volunteer on their part, and they're quite good. They do a wonderful job with kids.
If you're still interested in signing up, there are applications down here at 591 at Cowork, and Kelly has them in her office. Stop by. Also, Brock Sabers has them at the school.
Okay.
As far as Littleton Free Watermelon Day, we are. I've talked to several of the artists in the last 2 or 3 days, actually, and that is coming up as well. The 29th.
Have you checked the watermelon plants? Are they growing or?
Actually, we checked.
Okay.
The Independence FFA is supplying the watermelon.
Yeah.
But it's been so dry.
I know. That's what I was wondering. So,
Yeah.
But I don't think any rain today. We had some rain today. I don't know if they got any rain.
Well,
but
it's
yeah, they need
been
a
a-
lot. They need to water those plants.
They
Get
do.
the watermelon. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watering my flowers, but my grass looks
Yeah.
like a desert.
Yeah. It looks like August, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's just
it
very
does.
very strange. So.
We need rain. Some of the musical groups that day are the Belvins and Powers will be on the Reyes stage from 1 until 3. Chet Reagan and Mandy McCleary, I talked to them just before I came, actually,
Okay.
Dale. They are going to be on the Littleton Chatham Historical stage from 3 until 5. And the Bad Habits Band will be on the Reyes stage from 6 until 8. Artists include Bruce Gordon, a colored pencil artist from Grundy Center, Iowa, and Helen Hunter from Marion, Iowa, and Barb Prawl, one of the better.
She's your favorite, isn't she?
She is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yep.
She is an incredible one. Barb just makes me happy every time I talk to her.
That's the kind of person to talk to then.
Yep. The food vendors include the Jesup Lions Club, Boyd's Food Truck, and Totally Rolled Ice Cream out of Northeast Iowa. Free watermelon 4 to 5. Sponsors include Littleton Lounge, Reyes Concrete, Littleton Chatham Historical Society, Jacobson Fabrication and Repair, Dream Chaser Acres, Boyd's, Jesup Lions Club, Independence High School, FFA, Thomas James, Totally Rolled Ice Cream, Northeast Iowa, Even Events and Rentals, and Derek's Repair Shop. And this is all presented by the Steve Brown Arts Center. Dale, the Steve Brown Arts Center is working diligently to get a home. We are sharing homes like with Cowork 591 right now. They're kind enough to let us do our studio stuff here. We have done stuff at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society. We've done stuff at the library. We do stuff in the park. We've done stuff in the basement of City Hall. We've done stuff at Jesup Community School District.
Okay.
And we are working to find a home.
Yeah.
So I don't have a cough, but the
Cheap outfit.
I know it. If we thought at one point we had a a storefront, and because of contractual arrangements with another group, we don't get that storefront, which I understand.
Uh-huh.
We were offered a house, but the house is in disrepair, and it would just cost us too much to rebuild that.
Yeah.
But it is our dream, and eventually we will get that dream. If you would like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. Dale is pretty prominent in the Jesup community. If you see Dale on the streets in Jesup, don't hesitate to stop and share any ideas with him. We're here with Blake Tempus, and Blake has been producing us since the start,
Yep.
and we cannot say enough kind words about him. He is going to college. He's working 2 jobs, and he's raising a motorcycle and a car right now besides. So
And he doesn't yell at us too much, does he?
He
For
doesn't.
being old and not knowing what we're doing. So yes.
he drags us through it.
Yeah.
I'm Jim Gillespie. Thanks to co-host Dale Rueber, our producers Blake Tempus and Kelly Seahaas at Cohort 591 Studios. Remember, each day is about little victories.
Little victories.